feeling with today's Murli was that Baba took us into that invisible world of God. So extraordinary. Such a huge contrast to the story world. And I just want to change my view. There we go. Yeah, such a huge contrast. And I was just remembering how, and I'm sure this is the experience for many, when we first come to this knowledge and we begin to follow the principles, the vision of our families and friends is that we are somehow being deprived of happiness because they see how our lives change to such a great extent. There's we stop eating in restaurants and going for entertainment, and I mean the list is so long, and sometimes they really feel sorry for us. I'm sure you had that experience. And yet today in the Murli, Baba shows us the kind of magic that is happening at the subtle level, at the invisible level, that you can't actually explain to anyone unless the pious intellect is awake. Because no matter how you try to explain this very different happiness, people, they just can't get it. So, yeah, as long as Ravan is in charge, it's like this world of Ram is the door is closed. They just can't see it. And of course, our whole spiritual progress is dependent on how much we can extract ourselves from the limited perceptions and experiences of happiness. It's not that we're completely free, and it's so important to check the self. So say, for example, I'm planning something, to do something, or I'm planning to get something. Now, often I just ask this question of the self. So if this doesn't happen, this plan, if it doesn't work out, or if I don't get what I'm planning to get, or do what I'm planning to do, is it okay? And that simple question has been so helpful to keep the soul in that state of neutrality whilst still functioning in Ravan's world. And it's just a checking point to see if there is any dependency. Because in Ravan's world, the happiness flies away in a second if they don't get what they want to get, or attain what they want to attain, or achieve what they want to achieve. And so we see this constant, it's like a yo-yo of happiness and sorrow in happiness can turn to sorrow in a second. And maybe we don't call it sorrow in the extreme form, but still to check that there isn't any disappointment, because that is really showing us that still the drama at some level has, keeps us in that slavery or that beggar consciousness. And it was so powerful how Baba reminded us today that we are God's community. We are, God's children. Because just that in itself reminds us that we cannot stay at that level of the stone intellect. It is really our duty to keep that awareness that in this last birth, Baba said, in this confluence age, our task is completely different. And not to have one foot in that old world where there's still some limited desires, but to fully come into the confluence age and understand that the task is completely different. Baba often says that when you are in your stage of ascending, the whole world ascends. And I really felt that this was the underlying message in today's Murli. Keep yourself out of Ravan's world. Keep yourself in God's world where this great task can actually move forward. Because if the starting point is incorrect, then everything that follows from that is going to be still back in that downhill spiral. So Baba keeping us in that higher consciousness, that we are here for something completely different. So when we do catch ourselves taking happiness at a limited level, just to be able to see it and just make that correction in a second to come out. And there was also, I felt this connection today. Baba sometimes says that purity is the mother of peace and happiness. And there was the emphasis today also on that purity. And even there, the world really believes that impurity is the path to happiness. Baba was talking about all the ceremonies that happen around a marriage, and there really is that conviction, even though all the evidence is there, that it is just going deeper and deeper into Ravan's kingdom, because of the level of bondage that follows from that vice of lust, just bondage upon bondage upon bondage. So we talk about having that vision of brotherhood, but as was said earlier as well, that actually, unless that is there, and we are truly in that awareness of soul consciousness, then it doesn't matter what is done. Everything that follows is going to, Baba calls it happiness today, but it is also the removal of sorrow. Because if I see just one soul today in its purest, most elevated form, then that's a step towards reducing also the sorrow of that soul. Even though it's happening at such a subtle level, it is a power of its own, that vision, that helps that soul not to go deeper, at some level, not to go deeper into that world of sorrow. And it's such a contradiction. They take happiness in Ravan's kingdom, and the return of that is always sorrow. And we know that. But the illusion is so deep that they actually, even when they experience the sorrow, they can't see that it was taking Ravan's happiness that brought that sorrow. And of course, it is our lesson as well. It's not that we are completely out of that. It's like a vortex that sucks the soul into that that world of, the illusion of the happiness. And as we heard, it happens in Brahman life. We have to really check if the soul is happy and content. Where is it coming from? If we have, let's say, a role, and that role is removed in a second, does the soul fluctuate even slightly? So this soul has had many experiences, and sometimes failing in that experience, taking sorrow because something has changed and it appears not to be in favor. But of course, it's only not in favor of the ego, that's all. That's such a good lesson. Sometimes easy to laugh about it afterwards. But really to see the traps in Brahmin life, because they are more subtle than in, the Lokic world out there. The traps are definitely more subtle in Brahmin life, but yeah, we can laugh about the birthdays and things like that, but sometimes we are taking happiness from very subtle things in our Brahmin life. The respect of others, the fact that others perhaps seek advice from us. It can be different things that can also build that BK, Harry ego that we talk about. Om Shanti.